Good evening and welcome to Bagel Foundation's Being the CEO Ready Masterclass series. We are so excited to have our distinguished guest today, Harita Gupta, who is Senior Vice President, Global Customer and Employee Experience Head with Sutherland. What a pleasure, Harita, to have you here.
Thank you, Supria, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Likewise, a very warm welcome to all the viewers online and to our Bagel members. Let's talk about who Harita Gupta is. A brief introduction. Harita Gupta is a prominent figure in the IT ITEAS services sector, currently serving as the head of global experience at Sutherland. Her career spans over 3 decades, with significant roles in major organizations such as Microsoft and NIT Technologies. At Sutherland, she not only oversees customer success and experience globally, but also drives employee experience in the workplace. Known for her visionary leadership, Harita Gupta champions the creation of an inclusive work culture that welcomes individuals from diverse backgrounds, including people with disabilities, LGBTQ plus members, and other marginalized communities. This commitment to diversity is reflected in her leadership style, where she prioritizes people-centric approaches to management. Harita Gupta plays an important role in industry leadership across the globe. She is the chairperson of the BPM Council at NASSCOM and a member of the NASSCOM's Executive Council. In these capacities, she actively shapes industry discussions and policies, particularly on topics related to the transformative impact of Gen AI on business strategies, advancement of the sector, and the talent landscape. Well, Harita, there is such a magical career you had, and we can't wait to hear a lot more about it and learn from a conversation with you. I am, for one, super excited. And I know everyone who's going to hear is going to walk away with some magic wand to say how to be like Harita. So,
Oh my,
Harita.
no pressure at all, Supriya.
So, Harita, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are.
So who am I? Yeah, born into a family of 4 children. My father was in the army. So, being in the army, we went all over India, and he was also posted in Africa. So part of my growing up was in Africa, which was very interesting at that age as a young teenager. Then went on to boarding school, did my college, and then I joined IIT Delhi to do a master's where I met my husband. He's also from IIT. We got married. After graduating from IIT, I joined NIT Technologies, a great company where I worked for almost 25 years. And I think I really built my career there. Yeah, then went on to join Microsoft, where I headed technical support across India and China, as well as Taiwan, Hong Kong. And over the last almost 8 years now, I've been with Sutherland, doing multiple global roles, as well as leading all of Asia Pacific. I have 2 boys, both live in the US, and 2 dogs. So that's a little
Awesome.
bit about me.
Awesome. And pardon me if I'm more interested right now to say dogs which breed.
So we have a lab and a French bulldog.
Oh my God. Love them. Love them. I'm a pet mom or a pet parent or a pet
Yeah,
lover is whatever the mood of the society goes.
right.
And had a lab and now I have a Shih Tzu called Bonbon. Totally the
Uh,
love of my life.
yes, I can imagine.
Thank you so much, Harita.
Hmm.
Harita, looking back at your journey, can you share a moment that truly defined that ambition and that led to your tremendously powerful and astonishing success that you had?
Are you speaking about a moment of where I really felt that I wanted to do something different? Is that what you?
Entirely up to you. Entirely up to you how you want to explain that.
So I think when I graduated from IIT and I finished my master's, I had an opportunity to go study in the US and do a PhD there. And I had 100% scholarship. And my father was really proud because, I don't think he could have afforded the fees to send me to the US. He was super proud that I had that.
Nice.
And in the meantime, I had a job from this IT company in Delhi called NIT. And I think that was probably one of the best decisions to stay back in India and work for an IT company. And at that time, computers were big boxes. We had big, huge 8-inch floppy drives, and it was a different world. And I think I've truly been blessed to see the transformation in the industry, whether it's been IT, whether it's been mobile, and now AI. So I think across my career, which is now almost 40 years, the amount of transformation I have seen, I don't think, I've been very blessed.
Amazing. It's amazing. I don't think I've shared this before, but in IIT, I graduated from Stephens 95, maths honors,
Mhm. Mhm.
and there was this buzz around NIT. It was the company to join.
Good.
And I was so starry-eyed,
Mhm.
rightly so. And I went and sat for the entire day. They used to run this assessment center. You give interviews, and
Correct.
I did it.
Correct.
And I still remember the HR head that time was Gagan Adlakha. I
Yes.
would love to meet him sometime again.
I know
Here
God.
is a story and anecdote. And I got the job. And in the last interview with him, I was, so they said, you're more creative. I met two people.
Mhm.
And then, and they told me, go the graphic design route. I said, okay. And I was
Mhm.
very excited. I didn't know what my world would be. And then Gagan Adlakha met me and he said, you're not going to join us. I'm like,
Really?
no, no, yeah.
Yeah.
I like, he's not going to join. I'm like, why? No, you're Stephens. I'm sure you're going to give your entrance and you're going to go for further studies. You're not going to join. I said, no, 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 I am going to join.
Yeah.
And Harita, he was so right. I mean, talk about HR
Mm.
career, HR leader. I'll always have a special place. I did not join. And I proved him right. So, so that's what happened. So I have a very brief love affair with NIT Technologies, you know, NIT that time. I don't
Yeah,
know whether it's called
a
technology.
great company, and I know Gagan very well. He runs his own consulting company called Vyaktitva, I think. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's Gagan.
I've interacted with Viktitva and other person. Okay, great. So we should chat and I should go back and say sorry to
Definitely.
Gagan or say, Gagan, you were spot on. You were right. That was amazing, Harita. What a beautiful defining moment of staying back in India and having that moment be the foundation of what you built today. Fascinating. What were some of the early, we'll continue on this path for a while. What were some of the early career experiences that truly shaped your leadership style? And how do they continue to even influence you today onwards? Harita, would you share some of those?
So, Supriya, when I started working, I was 21 and really young. And just linked to the point that I stayed back in India. So I was one of the very few women at that time, in the IT industry.
Right.
And one of my first jobs was to teach government and public sector officers basics of computers.
I can imagine.
And then of course take classes because at that time NIT used to do both software and training
Yes.
and teach. And I think the best way to learn is to teach because I had no option but to study at night until the late hours in the morning and then go to class the next day. And half the time I didn't know the stuff, so I would be reading it. So I really learned very fast.
Amazing.
And I think the second thing, just teaching these very senior government officials, because that was the time computers were coming in, really taught me that it doesn't matter, aged, it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, and I would wear a sari so that I would look much older than what I was and travel by bus to Dehradun, Jaipur, wherever else, right? And to go and teach. So, yeah, it was not easy, but it really made me what I am today.
So Harshda, I'm going to stay on this. This is a very interesting thing what you shared. What was those one or two gut wrenching moments to say, oh my God, there are these people, they won't take me seriously. And good or bad, we do have an age bias in a different way that the elders will teach the young and where have the young, shouldn't be teaching the elders. At least we have it a lot more in India. I don't know globally, but what was that experience? How did you overcome that?
Yeah. So, and I won't name the public sector, but I remember going to one of the public sector offices in Delhi and they said, "Are you going to teach us?"
Yeah.
There was like wonder on their faces. And of course, I was in my sari and trying to look old enough. Didn't fool them. They knew I was this young, but then I knew my stuff. And, I came back and I was telling my boss at that time, saying, this is what they said. But I think NIT as a company was very supportive and they set the expectations very clearly.
Amazing. Amazing. A great takeaway is got to know your content very well. And then even age as a barrier gets knocked out. You make sense, you know your content inside out, and you were preparing, for that conversation. And wow, very excited. And at Bagel, we are very focused on being CEO ready. That's really our mission. And we cut this lever so fine and niche that there is a lot of stuff we can do on building up, this bridging the gap. But
Okay.
we know that we want to start at the top and want to be just focused on that. So there's a lot of excitement about this question to say, what is a typical day in the life of a CEO? So what's a typical day in the life of Harita Gupta when she is managing the complexities of the role? And, and then if you may add a little bit sliver to that to say, how do you manage short-term business goals with long-term business strategies? I think these two views we would love to have from you.
Yeah. So, the typical day in a life has changed after the pandemic. So let me
Then
explain.
we'd love to know both.
Yeah. So let me
Greedy we
explain
are.
to you a typical day before the pandemic.
Sure.
Before the pandemic, the IT and the BPM industry, everybody had to get to office, right? So it meant waking up really early, getting my dabba ready. It meant quickly getting into office clothes, putting on a little makeup, getting into my car, either driving on my own or going with the driver, right? Getting to office, finishing work by 5:36, and then driving home again. And I think that, uh, you know, that was different because you were in the office the whole day. You were interacting with peers. You were going out and meeting customers. Slowly over the years, I think what happened is the culture of calls came in. So when I was working for Microsoft, so when I was in NIT, video calls were not the name of the game, right? It had to be physical meetings. It had to be, we had enough meeting rooms. And so that was it, right? You were going in from one meeting to another, you meeting customers, you were looking at new technologies, etc. The minute I joined Microsoft, I think that changed because I had a global role. Video conferencing came in. Microsoft had all the tools, uh, Skype and then Teams. And so that changed. So while you were in the office, you could still, pretty much be on a call the whole day.
Awesome. Amazing.
And then once the pandemic happened, it totally changed because people were working from home. And one has got so used to that, in terms of being productive while being at home.
Got it. Very huge transition. No, you're right. The whole world. I remember the pandemic, there are various ways to look at it, various lens, but one was that it just kind of leveled the playing field for everyone. One, in terms of a problem that we were all facing the same problem, we didn't have a solution. And I think the thing that we talk about, and very few understand the very fine lines between collaboration and competition. I think we were competing, but we were all collaborating, together in the sciences to say, how do we get the answers?
Sure.
So I think that was a great level of,
And I
um,
must add one thing there, Supriya. When I was much younger and my kids were younger, going to office in the morning and reaching at 9 a.m. sharp and, leaving only by 6 was hard. And we used to work 6 days a week.
my God.
And then I think, it's such a blessing now
Yeah.
for women who have children to say that, yes, on some days of the week, a hybrid working, you can work from home. And let's be real, at the end of the day, you need to manage your work life and your personal life.
Very true.
And I think the flexibility that we have now has been a blessing.
It's been a blessing. And Harita, let me ask, and this could you even give your personal opinion. Is this hybrid
Hmm.
truly positioning us for success? Because I see a lot of resentment still, and we have many episodes. One thing we don't do is we don't do gossip at Bagel. We only solve real problems, and we are, razor sharp focus on that. But is this hybrid okay? Is this working for businesses? Are we still seeing value being delivered? Or is it that, 5 days or 6 days, what of the policies that at office, at work was the only way, the model?
I think there's never a one size fits all solution.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, we face challenges with some of our members working at home. There are productivity issues. People are not focused. They're not spending the right amount of time. And which is why you've got to put the right governance in place, whether it's tools that are measuring productivity. You need to do that.
Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
It
So
can
there's
work as long as there are baselines, there are benchmarks, there are
that is correct.
frameworks that can help us
That can help.
track and do that. Because that
Yeah.
was the huge thing. Are we productive? I mean, what about collaboration? That's a huge thing that takes a spin sometimes. And like innovation, we say can only happen once you're in office and dialoguing. So you're right. There is no one size fit all. I completely agree with you. When you were hitting India, how was that experience? And how is that different from hitting APAC and global? Are there any market differences?
Yeah. So I for Sutherland, I had India in 2020. Yeah.
I'm taking you back.
Yeah.
I
And January 2020, I became the head of India. I think it was the 7th of Jan or something. And March 15th, or around that time, the pandemic hit. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'd never led such a large India business. We had about 20,000 people at that time. So it was a huge workforce. It was our highest geography for revenue. So India is, I would say, having lived here, I never found it a challenge in managing the Indian workforce. I think the biggest challenge for me in March when the pandemic hit was making decisions which nobody had ever made before.
Could you give us an example?
Yeah, so the BPM and IT industries has always been for the last 40, 50 years, a work in office industry.
Very true.
The government rules do not permit because of the tax benefits, etc. you get, they don't permit work from home. And imagine by April 15th, we had to move everybody to work at home. And I had to make that decision for good or for bad. And I think that probably was the defining moment.
Amazing. Amazing. Awesome. And when you're leading globally, what is the challenge when you know that, being an Indian is naturally lends itself to leading and understanding a large team. But when you're globally dealing with multiple nationalities, what advice can you leave for everyone who's viewing and listening in?
I think the biggest challenge when you lead global teams, there are two challenges, I would say. Number one, understanding culture. And that is a real challenge. And sometimes I don't do a great job, Supriya. I mean, I don't,
You're humble.
sort of say that I'm the best there, but that is something which I'm mindful every day.
Amazing.
And that's one. And the second is how much face time can you get? So I travel a lot, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks in a month, just to make sure that I get the face time that's required, because unless you build a relationship, work doesn't happen.
Would it be fair to assume that Rome wasn't built in a day? And if you have to give in, create something and do really a good job of that, which is a 10 on 10, it does come at personal sacrifice or trade-offs.
It does.
It does.
For sure it does.
Because a lot of conversation around being CEO, sometimes I've heard that I was taking a session at IMB and we were leading very senior women and we were talking to them and I asked how many of you want to be CEO? When no one raised that hand and I was a little surprised. It was an industry-led program that, was being held at IMB and I'm like, no one? And then I realized that the CEO the CEO is such a male archetype. It's travel. It's almost like the men are footloose and fancy free. And this is not a comment. It's always an assumption sometimes we make. And the women also have to balance a lot of it. And therefore, it's a lot of media facing. It's going and interacting with press. It's always being in the face. It's a lot of networking, which traditionally we know that we haven't done very well as women. As this race, we can do a lot more of that. And when when the archetype is that strongly male dominant, a lot of women don't actually aspire for the job. So it's not like women aren't getting it. It's just that women aren't even raising their hand for it is the problem. The pipeline is dry because nobody wants it. And therefore the men, by the way, have a field day because they don't have better content, more suited, well perfected for the role. So
Yes.
God bless you, men. You have a field day because we aren't raising a hand.
Yeah,
So how was it for you raising your hand, Harita?
So, to your point, if one thinks that one doesn't compromise, and compromise could be a strong word, it's not true, right? If
Amazing.
you've got to do something, you are making compromises. Whether sometimes, you miss your workout, you're eating unhealthy, right? Because if you travel so much, you just end up eating unhealthy. Or whether you're just working long hours or not having dinner with your family, especially if you, let's say, work out of Asia Pacific and you work with US and UK customers,
Timings.
never an opportunity to have a family dinner unless you take a day off.
Very.
There are those challenges. But having said that, at the end of the day, it's worth it. And to your point about raising your hand, it's not easy because if you fear a new role, you can never ever be successful. So my recommendation to anybody who, is looking at CEO ready is to let fear not come in the way. Because I honestly believe that if you have the right intent, it's not rocket science.
Amazing. Amazing. So all the women viewers out there, and even men aspiring to be CEO ready, will drop your fear. And it ain't rocket science, but if you have the well intentions, so well intentioned, amazing.
And get a good coach because sometimes, and I've had some really good coaches, sometimes you need to see the mirror. Actually, many times. In fact, I'm going through a coaching right now, and that mirror is very powerful.
When I was leading the country head, oh my God, country head for Western Digital, I had an executive coach, and you're right, that facing the mirror and being told that what got you here ain't getting you there.
That's
That bridging of how you need to see and adapt and flex and change your style, that is a great learning. Harita, thank you so much for sharing that having an executive coach, thank you for raising, and doing your word for that. Has there been any major challenge that you are facing in your current role or in your, previous roles of being a country head or an APAC head? Was there any major challenge that you saw and what was your approach to solving it, overcoming it?
So, Supriya, in reality, challenges are there all the time. It depends on whether you look at like a major challenge or not. But I think one of the biggest challenges I've had in my career when I used to work for a previous company was that, when you're working in an organization, you're so, should I use the word wedded? But you
Sure,
are, because you're
of course.
emotionally, mentally, physically, you're invested in the company.
True.
And I think the one time the biggest challenge I had was that the company didn't really understand my point of view, that it was in the favor of the company, which of course later they figured out. But I think just that was my biggest challenge.
And how did you solve it? So they understood later, but how did you cross over? If you can share a broad general strategy for us.
I think one of the mistakes I made is that you put emotion into that. So whenever you're facing a big challenge, it's hard, keep the emotion out.
It's almost like, yeah, how do you solve a problem? And I remember the Myers-Briggs, it simply says the people who are T and people who are F, the
Yeah,
F jump in and make it about them and personal, and the T's
exactly.
take a distant view and deal with it objectively, but keep the emotion out. And Harita, I'm assuming this is
And
true
that's
for
the
both the
hardest because
genders.
remember when you're invested in, so yeah, keep the emotion out.
And this is true across the gender, right? Because I've seen men being passionately involved and bringing their emotions and all going all over the
Yep,
place.
yeah,
So this is irrespective of any gender you may belong to, right? Yeah,
gender, and it's very hard, but it needs to be done.
needs to be done. Amazing, amazing, awesome. Such a simple thing. And who said simple is easy? Input, process, output. And
Oh, good.
who said that is not complicated?
Hmm.
Talking about customer success,
Mhm.
today in my business advisor where we run the fund, we talk about it's all about if the startup is existing
Right.
is because they are customers. First,
Mhm.
you're solving a real problem and is someone ready to pay for it? And therefore, are you
Absolutely.
listening to the customer all the time?
Mhm.
How else do you do it? So how do you stay ahead in understanding diverse needs and expectations of customers who are globally located? How do you do that?
So the way we do it right now, and the way and I'm trying to I just took over that role in July, and I'm looking at how we can transform it because, how we were doing it in the past was we were sending them a survey, sometimes once a year, sometimes twice a year. Customers would fill in an NPS survey. They might even write some text on how they feel, and then you look at that, analyze it, and then if the customer is a detractor, then you talk to the customer. So I thought it was fairly impassionate, right? Because all you do is send out a survey. The way I'm looking at it in the future is that the voice of the customer has to be more personal.
Correct.
And the first thing you need to start with is to tell the customer about your organization. What often happens with large companies is that they think that if they have a website, every customer knows about them. That's not true.
Fascinating smugness.
That's never true. And so one of the things we're starting now is to have a customer newsletter. Our customers have been asking about it, but we've never done it. And I hope to land that very quickly to just inform the customers what's happening in our world. It could be as simple as we're opening a new office, we're starting a different kind of LOB, we've acquired a company, or whatever it is. They really want to know what's happening inside your organization.
So that's connecting with customers by sharing your world with them.
Exactly. It's a bit like, uh, connecting with your employees. I send out a quarterly newsletter for the simple reason that people want to know what's happening in different parts of the world. And nobody's telling them. I think communication, Surya, is key, whether you meet the customer or not.
Amazing. Awesome. Awesome. It's amazing, Harita, when everybody is viewing in and I am preparing for a session with you and I'm like, what complicated stuff is going to come out? And it's going to just completely like be the magical moment and there's going to be like an Aladdin Chirag. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. And what you're saying is reiterating, validating the same simple truths, communicate, talk your fear, get a coach, look in the mirror. My God. Yeah. Yeah. I'm loving this
I
conversation.
hope I'm not disappointing the audience because this is like,
They're going to be so appointed and engaged because they'll be like, when you miss the basics and you think the answer is in the complexity,
it's real.
it isn't. It isn't. And then you just reroute and take a U and come back to basics again. And it's like I said, what is simple is not easy. People struggle with weight management. People struggle with discipline, time management, showing up at times. But those are just simple things. Go to bed early, wake up early. But we all have different
It's not easy.
Yeah, we just brought up differently, and all of us are not same. So lovely, lovely. Is there any? So when you're sharing this from a customer success point of view, how have the last few months been? Is there something different you've done here in this role that you haven't done in your past roles?
Well, I've never done customer success ever. I started as a programmer. I used to teach. Then I went on to doing hardcore software. Then I went on to doing technical support in Microsoft. So I've always had a technical role. And then in Sutherland, I was leading technical support business globally. And of course, APAC, which was not technical, it was more general management. So yeah, I've never done customer success. So when I was asked to do this role, I did say that, it was like putting up your hand. I have never done it. I don't understand it. But the amount I've learned in the last 6 to 7 months, and I've also ensured that we are transforming. So the first, as I said, communicate with your customer. The second is, how do we look at AI to really, we've got so many surveys. How do you look at AI to quickly tell you what are the key themes that your customers are talking about?
Outstanding.
Yeah. So these are two things which,
Use that. Use the data and get your insights and do that. And use
exactly.
AI for that.
And don't manually read all comments because it's going to just take you hours and hours.
Very
You
true.
never get the job done.
Outstanding. I love the role of AI. Brilliant. Harita, you said keeping it simple, communicate. What are some of the strategies you can share with us so that communicate to ensure collaboration? How can one communicate? And you share at a large customer base like Sutherland has, of course, there's a newsletter, there's understanding, there's surveys. But if one is to simply look at it at a very senior role that, our women leaders are, how can they communicate better with their stakeholders?
So, Priya, so let's look at it. Let me talk about my role as head of employee experience.
Sure. Sure. Love that.
There are three ways in which I've communicated. The first is the newsletter, which is more one way, right? It comes to you, you read it, you like it, whatever. The second is, and I learned this during the pandemic when I was heading India. I used to have a channel called Ask Harita. Okay. And at that time, because I didn't know the business, I didn't know what was happening with people in their homes. So we opened up the channel, and the amount of insight it gave me on how to run the business was phenomenal. So more than solving issues for people, it was really insights for me.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the third, of course, there is no, you've got to do your face to face and listen.
Show up and listen. Show up and
Show
listen.
up and
In
listen.
person.
Let's put it like that. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you, Harita, for that. We've captured that. We also run a show up index at Bagel for all our members who join us. We simply say that, you paid the membership, but this shouldn't be like your gym membership where you pay up and you don't show up. We every quarterly, when we have events or seminars or sessions like this, we see who's attending. And we very nicely, politely just share the show up index. एक quarter hai, it's gone by. Here is it. And we'd like to see you more. Like once in a while, I don't order from Swiggy. Swiggy says, "I'll miss you. I'd love to see you more." So we kind of say that with a smiley. But it's
Well,
just
to be
nice.
honest, I've paid a yoga membership and they remind me every day that I've missed it.
That's good because it's been there, right? We learned it early on, point of purchase or brand recall or just being there. No, lovely. We're going to get a little bit more into challenging moments, and we'd like to get that real crux, that nuance out. Was there a time when everything was on the line from a career standpoint, and you're like, "I'll stand my ground"? And what did you do was a problem, and more importantly, what did you learn from it?
So, I've not had. So, if you look at it, I worked with NIT, then I worked with Microsoft, and now I work for Sutherland, right?
Very unlike what a millennial career or Gen X career would look like.
Just three jobs. So, honestly, I've never had that situation.
I hear you.
Where I've said there have always been challenges, Supriya, right? Working with global teams, dynamics at your team level, dynamics at your peer level. I don't think that's ever going to change, right? But I've been fortunate that, I've had the support of great leaders and never really felt that, okay.
Everything is on the line.
Everything.
Brilliant. Very well.
Yeah.
Just shows of how much listening you've done and how much being in alignment and how much of stakeholder management has gone so well that there hasn't been that moment. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And stakeholder management is key.
Yeah.
And when I look back, there is no right or wrong. And sometimes, I used to get the feedback saying you need to do more of it. But I'll be honest with people on the group, it's so personal because if you do a little more, then what you actually believe in, it just comes out very artificial.
Very fair.
So it has to come from the heart. I mean, stakeholder management is not only about manager. It has to come from the heart, and you have to really believe that you're doing the right thing.
Thanks, Harita, for saying that, because while everybody's listening in and they would love to marvel at what Harita is and how she is and how she's acing it, I think you send a very beautiful message to everybody who's listening that whatever you do at the end of the day, being true to who you are and being authentic is key.
Very important.
Very important. And if you must, the role requires, then you still have to understand and do it because you want to do it. And it has to come from within.
Yes.
Otherwise, the cracks will appear and it will
Yes.
flow. And no, thank you. That's a very important message. You come across so balanced, so polite, so
It's because you're on the call with me.
and so vulnerable and my God, excruciatingly honest. In a digital world where this is all recorded, you're excruciatingly, painfully honest. Which can only tell me how goddamn secure you are from within. And you're like, could have done this better. It's just amazing and so warm. I've met you, my God, the first meeting with you, and it didn't feel like it was a first meeting. And now I feel like I've known you for decades. Didn't go to IIT, but it looks like we graduated from that too together.
Together.
So what has been the critical pillars, Harita, into shaping you who you are today? From personal growth standpoint, what have you truly invested in to be such a famous and amazing leader that you are today?
So I'm not famous and I'm not
You
sure
are.
I'm amazing. I think first I had huge family support, right? From my father first, because he always believed his oldest child. For some reason, he used to call me Prince of Wales.
Wow.
I don't even know why, right? So he would, and I'm the oldest, and my father studied in London. So he came, and when I was born, he would introduce me to to people and say, "This is my Prince of Wales." I said, "Dad, I'm definitely not."
You definitely are. He
So,
saw that early
so,
on.
so yeah. So I think one, it was his support. He's no more, but it was just his support, and then of course my husband and my family, because I had so much of support from my parents, in-laws, my husband, that I think I could really focus on work, and I love what I do. I really love my job. I continue to work. I'm not young anymore, but so I think it was just
Amazing.
And the second thing, really like Supria, is to learn. So even
That
if I'm,
shines right through. That
yeah,
shines right
I'm not
through.
a voracious reader. It's not as if I'm reading a book every week. No, but if I need to learn something, I can do it pretty quickly, even if it's just on Google, right?
Amazing.
And I do that. That's it.
Fabulous. A great family support. And of course, a keen learner. Obviously, you're a very fast learner too. Harita, are there any courses you've taken? And you said you mentioned executive coach too. But is there anything else that you'd recommend to say that these two obviously one should work on? But is there anything else that the people can do to be
Yeah. So
CEO ready?
I'm not sure CEO ready,
Yeah.
but right now, for example, AI is all over, right?
Yeah.
And so we curated some courses in our company for our leaders to take. So I've started one of those because I
Amazing.
said it's just not enough to read about it on Google or in the news saying DeepSeek has come out or whatever, right?
Oh, yes. Oh,
You
yes.
really got to understand a little bit more.
Right.
So one, I do that. And the second, I always like talking to technical folks. So, in Sutherland, we have a group which is called our platforms team. They are the team which builds our core software.
Done.
And I talked to them. Like yesterday, I was chatting about agentic AI and what kind of agents we can build for insurance or healthcare. And I was talking to a startup yesterday. So I spent a lot of time, when they do reach out to me, I was talking to them yesterday. They have an agentic AI platform. In fact, they're based in Bangalore. So yeah, that's the way I learn.
Amazing. You just dived right into my word, which is Wiser, a fund, which is the other business that I run. It's only world's first
Yeah.
agentic AI fund. We're totally focused on only agentic AI investments. And
Really?
yeah, only agentic AI. And we're talking to a company in the US.
Mm-hmm.
We made our first investment, almost the term sheet getting signed. And the second one is based in US, where they have a platform which is only building agent, and wasn't for us.
We should talk somewhere because we're evaluating platforms where you can build the agents.
Oh, sure. We are happy to recommend two to you.
Absolutely.
We should chat. And of course, that I said anyway, even before we started this, that's a conversation we must have. And so we just sharpened our thesis a while back to say that's all you want to do now. We started enterprise AI, and then the agentic AI is going to just take the world. It's like someone said it beautifully at NVIDIA, right? That the future of HR jobs or the role is going to be the IT is going to do the agent management. Hybrid workforce is going to look goddamn very different. And though right now saying NVIDIA is a little bit, a painful point after the DeepSeek, where the stock plummeted, but it's fascinating. We'll chat. Um, there's a lot of misconception, Harita, and I was talking about it a while back to say that the role of CEO, the top leadership roles, they are very time consuming, they're difficult roles. And then there's an element that people say networking scares, politics scares, travel and all that's okay. I think a lot of women travel and they do a fascinating job of that. And at Bagel, every woman is a CXO, CTO, CEO traveling and doing a great job. Is there any misconception that you saw as you're elevating? You're like, oh God, they said this, but it ain't true. They said this, but it ain't true. They said this about global role, it ain't true. Did you see any of these misconceptions that sometimes just become narratives that are so stale and old and they aren't true? And they're making, they're kind of obstructing real talent from applying or raising their hands.
So, whether we like it or not, there has been this feeling that a woman cannot do the role.
Yeah, there
Right?
has been
And
that.
I mean, I've been working for so long. So I'd be lying if I say that that feeling is not there. There is that feeling, right? And and I think great companies who have great leaders have always believed on the other, which is that women can do it. And I think you honestly become a great company if you believe a woman can do it.
You just became my favorite leader in the whole goddamn world right now.
Because then you're truly diverse, you're truly inclusive, and you see the results. And I have facts and data to prove that women leaders lead better profitable companies from my own experience. And I'm not saying men don't do it. Sure. But I'm very confident that women absolutely lead companies with better profitability.
Outstanding, Harita. I have so many questions, but I think we could actually close the conversation here because you just gave us the punchline. You gave us the headline. Outstanding. I'm loving this. I think so. I'm going to be greedy and go for more. Thank you for saying that. And I think it's not a women versus men game at all. It's just
No.
that it's a women and men game. And the fact that if the companies believe in women can do it too, they just truly are global and diverse. And
Absolutely.
you're a leader who stands for globally inclusive cultures across all parameters.
Yes.
You spoke about AI, and I love that you're sitting and chatting with your platform team. You're looking at investing in startups or, talking to them and partnering. And has this been a thread all along, Harita, to say that, this digital transformation that's happening, this new technologies, emerging technologies, how do you stay abreast of that? And how do you make sure the roles that you're leading are so complex and diverse that your teams stay ahead of that?
I've always done it, Supriya. And I'll give you an example. The last 4 months, my role was not to look at technology because I'm customer experience and employee experience. But we've partnered with a company in the US. It's called Sanas, SANAS. It's called sanas.ai. And they have a tool which does accent neutralization. So let's say you're running a voice program out of the Philippines or Colombia or India. The accent is not American. And what this tool does is in real time, it sits on your desktop. It neutralizes accent. So me with my team, and I'm very blessed to have a very good team of 2 women with me. So we decided we are going to pilot it, and then we just piloted it across the organization. So I think sometimes you've got to also let your passion drive the kind of work you do.
Fabulous.
And nobody will say no because, you've brought something new to the table.
Fabulous. So this has been a thread all along to
All my life.
irrespective of what role, whether it's technical or general management or strategic, you are not going to fall out of love with technology anytime soon. You're
No.
going to be passionately in love with technology. Oh, awesome.
And I'm not the best technologist, I must tell you that.
Yeah, who
Right? It's
cares
not
about
that I know
that?
everything. But I think I know enough to be able to strategize where we should invest our money as a company.
You just let this segue. This conversation is rolling so seamlessly and beautifully. It's almost like, so when we talk about some of the strategic decisions that leaders make and how they make organizations stand in good faith, and you just spoke about one, Sanas.ai. Is there any other decision that you can think of which you took and you were like, it's paid organization rich dividends?
Yeah. So in fact, with our platforms team, I made a decision during the pandemic, and we now have a patent for that solution. And it was as simple, and I love this because I was talking to the head of the platforms team, and I was walking in the garden. It was a Sunday evening. He said, if people have to work from home, how do we ensure security and that our customers feel that there's security? Because remember, if they're running if they're doing processes for banking or voice, you can't have anybody else around. You can't have your mobile phones, etc. True. So we conceptualized this on a Sunday with my platform's leader. And we said, what if we have an app which records on the camera what I'm doing? Is there anybody around me? Is there any paper around me? And if I'm alone doing that work? And that solution 3 months ago received a patent in the US. And now so I didn't build it. I must tell you, I had nothing to do with building, but just thinking through the idea and working with the tech team to say, do you think this is a possibility? And we did it.
You're a total entrepreneur, Harita. How is it that
I'm not.
organizations?
I must tell you, I am not an entrepreneur. I love my salary at the end of the month. Let me be very honest.
Oh, that's excruciatingly and painfully honest yet again, Harita. Oh my God, if to title you, I'll say the Let's Meet Honest Harita Gupta. Um, you said that, but look at the ideation, which is actually what Peter said, the core of this, right? I mean, anything that you can have an idea that can give you the rent above and kind of keep it sustained for a long time. And but you're right. I mean, if you can do it within a corporate environment, in every role that you do, you can have new ideas buzzing and have a patent up for that or a new business stream. Then it's brilliant. When we look at, I would love to also touch upon because there's such a broad persona that you bring to the table. How are some of the industry bodies you work with, NASCOM, other industry roles that you spearhead? What are some of the key agendas that you focus on, Harita? And what has been your moment or a highlight?
Yeah, so I've been very blessed to be part of NASCOM. And honestly, I'm thankful to and grateful to Sutherland because as I took on the role of India head, I came on the executive council and then I lead the BPM council for NASCOM. I've got to meet, various different leaders across the industry, leaders who've really set up the industry. So names who set up the IT and the BP industry, I interact with them. But from a pure BPM industry chairperson perspective, there are three things that we've been focusing on. The first, to make sure that we take the industry to emerging hubs. India today is not about the metros. India today is about our tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, tier 3 cities, even the villages. Awesome. And so how do we really take the industry across? The second is, what's going to be the impact of AI? Now, keep in mind, technology has always impacted the BPM industry or the IT industry. Sure. Right? Is it going to be a negative impact this time? Absolutely not. So this whole fear about jobs will disappear, no, it's not going to happen. As long as every individual is learning, the nature of the job will definitely change. And so just looking at what are the use cases, how's AI going to impact us? That is the second area we're looking at. And the third area is training, skilling. Because skilling in India, if we can get our act right on skilling, we'll just have. So, I was at a session maybe 3 weeks ago in Bangalore where I was invited by Microsoft. Satya Nadella was here in India.
Yes.
And Satya was, so I was attending that CEO forum. And Satya basically made a statement which made so much sense. He said, India will be the AI capital of the world. Love that. There isn't any other AI capital because the human capital in India is the largest. It is. The trust factor in India for, growth, development, security, all of that is the largest. Stability. Very true. And the only thing we lack is skilling. Let me say one of the things, right? And of course, our investments in deep tech, which now is happening after DeepSeek has come. We lack a consolidated way we can actually very quickly skill our youth on AI. Amazing. It's a project which we cannot solve for in entirety because it has to be our educational system. It has to be schools, colleges, and then, of course, companies like us who train up.
Fascinating, Harita. I love the charter. Love that. And love the fact that leaders as yourself are working at building India and taking to the next level. It's like what we say at Wiser that it's the fourth industrial revolution and India is
Yes.
not lagging behind. It has opportunity to lead it. And we must put all our
Energy.
resources together, energy together to make sure that when the world expects us to be, the world is ready to give that. And a man as distinguished as Satya Nadella is saying that, then it's time, I think, we believe in ourselves and we do this. I think we and great with leaders like you, and we'll ensure that, this gets done. This is, this continuing to be a great conversation, Harita. We're going to just switch tracks a bit now and bring gender in play. Till now, it's like leader, CEO, global roles are all gender agnostic. I don't know why, the organizations don't understand. mature organizations as yourself, that you work in understand, but I think many have a long way to go. So, as a woman in a senior leadership role, if I now appeal to that side of you, which is bringing the gender in, what can you share in a very simple, nuanced way to say an approach to breaking barriers? What can we learn from you?
When you say breaking barriers, what
Like raising hand for top roles or just sitting in with male dominated boardrooms, anything where it's breaking barrier. How
So
has
I'm
that
going to
been?
say something to you, which, again, I'm going to be very candid.
Sure.
So when I'm in a boardroom, and that happens many times because I'm on the
What's
board of companies as well as an independent director, I'm not a woman in that room.
I hear you.
I'm just an individual with a capability. Now, somebody else might look at me as here is this woman independent director and she's here because she's a woman. But I don't look at myself like that. And I think that's very important.
That touched the heart. Candid again, honest again.
So if you believe that you are there because of your capability and not because of your gender, the battle is already won.
Lovely. I was an admirer even before. But I think after this chat, I'm a bigger fan. No, I just
Really
love
okay.
that. Love that because we got to change our lens. We got to only focus on our
Change our own lens. Yeah.
change our own
So yeah,
lens.
I look different, but that should not come in the way of
Yeah.
your work.
And I love the way you said it, Harita. You didn't say uh, that the others don't look at it, that others may think differently. I love the way you balanced it beautifully by saying others may look at me as well, others may ascribe different intentions. You don't ascribe that. You're not listening to this nonsense that's happening on the side, if I may use that word. You're operating from within, inside out, to say, I know why I'm here, and I'm here only because I'm goddamn capable and I'm the best person for the job. Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So now say this. There's also another conversation we spoke about with network, but there's also that women don't have a strategic mindset, that they're tactical, operational. I've sat in so many conversations in my leadership roles, and I would
Yeah.
ask, I would push back and I'll say, oh, she just is not strategic. Okay, great. But she's very operational focused. What kind of team have you given her? She's been raising an all the time requests for headcounts you don't approve. Then how do you expect her to pull out herself from the operational rigmarole that you've got her sucked in? And how do you make sure that, she be strategic? Where is the time to invest in strategic acumen? It needs time, it needs thinking, it needs prep. And sometimes your operational responsibilities just don't allow you. What guidance can you give for women to say how can they develop strategic mind? There's tons of business conversation we had. I love this. But is there any one of your candid, Harita, honest
So,
moment?
Supriya, when I was younger, I was driven by the fact that, if I'm working 8 hours a day and I'm on my email or in meetings or, activity,
Yeah.
right? If there's activity, I'm really doing a great job. Not anymore. Because if I'm thinking, right? So let's say I'm not desperately keep typing away on my keyboard, but my brain is thinking about the future. And, I could make a couple of phone calls to the right people. That is more valuable than just doing your operational job at my stage now.
Right.
So sometimes what happens is that the measure of productivity as you get senior and, if you is not just about being busy. Because sometimes what happens, Supriya, is if you're too busy, you're not able to think.
Beautiful. Very fair, very fair. Harita, this reminds me of an anecdote. There was a time when I took over the role of country head for Western Digital. The president of the company that time, who was my dotted line boss, told me, I want you to tell me, and it was very one-way conversation. He's an amazing leader, he is. He's like, I want you to tell me, where's your thinking time? What?
Really?
Yeah, within a week, he said. So I had two bosses. I have a direct line boss who was the head of engineering, and I had another, dotted line who was the president. And it's amazing. Both my bosses are amazing. And the solid line engineering said, I said, oh, chip and all. And I was moving from a people function domain. You can imagine what
Right.
that would have been like for me. And he said, I said, oh, I need to understand this, system on chip and get into details technically. And he said, an engineer would know more than you. So I said, then why did you give me the role? What do you want me to do? And he said, network, network, network. What you will learn from reading a book and dialoguing and all of that and thinking that you want to read articles, a meeting will change everything for you. Build on your strengths. And I did not believe in networking that time, Harita. And now I'm a avid networker and I'm running a networking platform in Bagggel. That was one advice and I kind of followed it. I think eyes closed. The second was the one that you said that this one is about thinking time when you're not doing anything. So tell me, What are you going to do? And I chose my Fridays as no meeting days. My Fridays became every week was Friday dedicated to just meeting people and making sure I have time to think and some time I carved out. But these were two advice that landed.
You're absolutely right.
We were amazing advisors, amazing bosses, and amazing advice. And
Yeah.
you're right. So getting stuck in operational rigmarole is, our choice. But I think keeping a time for thinking is very important to building a
And I
strategic.
think it's with age as well and experience. I mean, I wasn't like this maybe 5, 6 years ago. It was
You said you're an avid learner and a great growing
Yeah.
leader. And age is just a number, is what I heard when I talk about my age. I'm with you. Oh my God. I still see a young 21-year-old Harita and learning every minute. Learning every minute and saying, tell me what can I do next? And tell me what I can do and sit here and solve and build a patent or an idea. I mean, you're brilliant. I would just say to the members and viewers online, keep bringing in your questions on the chat, please. In a few minutes, we will open up for question answer. So please continue to write in chat your questions and we will bring them up. We're almost at the last lap of this to say critical reflections. What is one piece of advice you wish you had received earlier? Though I don't see anyone stopping you or daring to stop you. And while she's thinking, members, bring in your questions on the chat.
I think one piece of advice which would have helped Supria when I get this really the way it is.
I am an armored chest right now. Bring it on.
I think when you're interacting with, I've interacted with a lot of men, and sometimes I've been the only woman in the room. There are two kinds. I think it's very black and white. There's one who accepting of women and women leadership and women intellect, and there are the others where absolutely non-accepting of women intellect, and just accepting the woman, right, in the room. And I think I probably never got advice on how to handle the latter one. So I've made my mistakes.
Me too, Harita. Me too. I made a lot of
I
mistakes.
made a lot
How-
of mistakes there, and I
I'm
wish
taking them
someone
head on and say,
told
how
me
dare you?
how do you handle, um, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think it doesn't, I don't think it's still changed. Society will take a while to change.
It will. It will, Harita. It will. It will. But thank you so much for again sharing it so beautifully to say there are parts of world that need to change, parts of
Oh,
society
yes,
that
of
need
course.
to change.
Yes.
And yet in all of this, you are achieving a stellar success. And I think the compass is that to say, approach from inside out. Don't look at what the world is talking or saying about you. Be ready, invest in yourself, get a
Yes.
coach, and absolutely, travel if you need to. Invest time in building in-person relationships and lead from within and lead authentic. There's so many learnings. It's almost like I have a Harita code sheet right now here to say that, do this, do this, do this, and you'll be a stellar success. Brilliant. We have a little bit of a cute rapid fire, if you
Sure.
will. With your permission, we will run that. If you could be part of any groundbreaking innovation or discovery in the history, what would that be and why?
I'd love to be a part of India's AI mission. I
Ah.
wish the government of India would give me an opportunity, because that would be my real.
Niti Aayog, are you listening? Are you
I
listening?
know. I hope ATIU is listening.
Oh, so what is one surprising hobby or a passion that you have that you're engaged in and people wouldn't expect Harita to do that?
Oh, I don't know if it's a surprise or not, but I really enjoy swimming. If I can find a pool anywhere, I just love it.
And where you stay, I'm sure there are more than enough number
Yeah,
of
but
pools
it's
for you to-
cold right now, as you can see. It's winter.
If you could instantly, with a magic wand, solve one leadership challenge in the world or solve one challenge in the world,
Acceptance of women leaders.
we love you for that. Bagggel loves you for that. And every woman who's listening to this worldwide, sitting anywhere, would love you for that, Harita. What's one book or film that has shaped your perspective on leadership the most?
I told you I don't read too many books.
It's a film?
But there's one book which is a very tiny little book, and so it's easy. I like to read small books. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? I read it many years ago, and I think it's so true.
So true, so true. Love that, love that. Is there any movie? I'm a total movie buff. There was a time I watched a movie a day. Is there any movie that has influenced?
It's not influenced, but I love watching Sholay, and I can keep watching it again.
So then I have to ask the question, kitne aadmi the? And this time you have to ask, kitni women the in the room?
Kitne women?
Oh, if you could time travel and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be? Though you answer that in a different context, would you choose a different answer?
If I were to time travel back,
Time travel back, what advice would you give yourself? While she's thinking, please pop in your questions, put them on the chat. Maybe you said it before, Harita. Maybe you did that, there are two kinds of men, and how would you deal with the other ones who don't believe in women leadership? Maybe you said that. Maybe you would say that if that advice was given, the errors would have been less. And yeah,
Maybe.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You already answered that.
Sorry, I just can't think of anything.
You answered it. You answered that if you could, probably you'll tell young Harita that when you meet a person, a man who's not invested in women's career
So
or
how
equality,
should I have handled it?
how could you handle that? You answered that already, I think,
That's
which is why it was a repeat. I think people are totally, mesmerized. I'm going to open the chat window here. And there's a question, there are many questions. Vibhuti is saying, thank you, Harita and Supriya. I think we totally have to thank Harita for a great conversation. Going back to work from office vis-a-vis work from office versus the remote or hybrid work, I sometimes see that women have visibility challenges, especially when they're working remote or hybrid. What are some suggestions you could give for improving or, their visibility at work?
Yeah, I think, and you're absolutely right, Vibhuti. You do have visibility challenges when it's out of sight, out of mind. As simple as that, right? And that's a reality. And so get up, get to the office 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but it's important to get to the office.
Amazing. So get to the office and make yourself visible when you're there.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Amazing. Shalu's asking a question. Hi, Harita. How can one assess who's the right coach for you? What are some of the tips for finding the right coach for you?
So, I've had across my career 4 coaches, and the fourth one is right now. And there's no right or wrong, but you've got to vibe with your coach to the extent that the coach is also, should I use the word empathetic? Because all of us are not perfect, right? I have so many downsides, right? But the coach needs to look at you saying that, yes, you can change and you can do it.
Brilliant.
And out of the 4, I would say probably 1 or 2 were good. The others were going by the book, got me to do a questionnaire, 360 and blah, blah, blah. And it was so much by the book.
My God.
So you can never every time get it right, but I think it's a little bit of trial and errors, get a coach and
It's amazing you said that, Harita. I spent 8 years getting myself trained. I'm a master certified coach, and it breaks my heart. Yeah, and it breaks my heart when I see that how we following the book is very important. ICF code has very stringent guidelines, and the process of certification is also at MCS. Is not it's done for this particular reason. But when we miss the chemistry in that interaction, I think that is what
that is.
yeah, and so thank you for that. I think Harita's advice is experiment a bit,
Experiment.
experiment a bit, and then you will land with the right coach. And the vibe, the chemistry has to work, and the coach has to believe in you. Thank you, Shalu, for asking that. Sushma is asking, "Hi, Harita, I would love to understand your strategy. It's brilliant. Did the new roles open for you automatically? It's like one of those digital tools." Or did you work hard at opening these roles, global roles or any other significant roles that all of them?
I think it was both. In some cases, it was very simple. The India head, the previous head quit. There was an opportunity and they felt I could do it. So I was lucky. And in the other cases, I've always made it known to my boss that I want to do more, I can do more, and this is what I want to do. So it's both.
Awesome. So women leaders is no shying away from putting your hand up for the role and having that candid conversation to say that you're ready and you'd like to look at something else. Excellent. Manisha's asking, hi, Sarita, in your experience, how critical it is self-awareness for effective leadership, especially at senior roles?
Yeah, I would say it is the most important thing. And I don't always do a good job, even now, having worked for 40 years, right? But I work at it every day. It's so important. And I make mistakes. I probably make a mistake once a week or twice a week, but keep at it.
My God, your honesty just hurts me right now. Deepthi is asking a question. It was great listening to both of you, and I'm sure she means only you. And I love the Prince of Wales tab that you heard. We can never look at Prince Charles now. We're going to just only see you there.
Oh my God.
That's an image now that's completely re-architected in our head. There's a leader in every person, and I just love the way your father triggered that in you. What would be your advice to enable women to trigger that within themselves?
Think of yourself as a woman. I'm honestly telling you that, when I do something, I never when I grew up, and I started working. It was like women can't do this. They can't take a bus and go to Dehradun and teach. I was like 21, 22.
I know.
Go to ISBT, get into a bus,
Oof.
travel 7 hours to Dehradun, stay alone in some forest guest house, come back. So there were these, beliefs that women can't do this and women can't do that. And I think the more you start believing that as a woman, I can't do this, that just sets you off, right?
It
So
does.
I mean, you could be a man, you could be a woman, and think about it, right? So, yeah, I listen to Sadhguru at times, right? So from Isha,
Yeah, the world of inner energy,
India.